Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next podcast for AgentX. And today I've got a great guest in the studio who's got a ton of knowledge. And I am talking about Joe Mathews. Joe, how are you today, sir?
Good. Thanks for inviting me on your podcast.
For sure. Thanks for coming. And just to give a little bit of a background about you, Joe, and stop me or correct me if I'm wrong, but Joe is the founder of Franchise Performance Group. He has been in the franchise business in a leadership role since 1985. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Roughly? Okay.
Yes.
Been around. So you've got tons of experience. And then about 2002 is when you actually started the franchise performance group.
Correct.
Right. And you are no amateur to doing podcasts and writing articles and stories. In fact, I see that you have done USA Today, Wall Street Journal, and Entrepreneur Magazine.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. And you also are a consultant. You've done several books. You got a ton of experience in the franchise world. And that's what we really want to dive into is, where is that today? So the article what we're going to be talking about today is Responsible Growth, Real Performance in the Future of Franchise Sales, which I think is a great topic to talk about. A lot of people, there's a lot of mystery when it comes down to franchises.
Yes.
They're not sure how to even get started or what exit strategies look like or any of it. So we're going to dive into that. But before we do, Joe, is there anything I missed that maybe I should have mentioned about your background?
No, you make me sound better than I am, so we can leave it there.
All right. Well, let's dive into this. I've been looking forward to this podcast. I could tell that you would definitely be a lively one and entertaining and has tons of knowledge. So let's dive in. When you think about franchising, what is one thing about the industry that still surprises you for somebody that's been in it for so long?
I'll tell you about something about franchise that surprised everybody.
What's that?
So franchising is almost, if you aggregate the sales of all the franchise systems, you're looking at not quite $1 trillion, about $750 billion. So this is not a small, I'm going to call it an industry because I believe it is an industry. And then the second thing is it's been around for 150 years, but it's still the Wild West. So the one thing that's surprising, I think, to people when they come into franchising, like private equity or even entrepreneurs, is franchising has never done for the brand, which is called the franchisor, which franchisors do for franchisees. So if you buy a franchise as a franchisee, you're buying a model, you're a codified model, right?
Right.
There is no franchisor model that exists. So it was always being seen until recently as a distribution strategy, as opposed to a business unto itself. So when I started Franchise Performance Group, it was really to study franchising as a business unto itself. So our generation of leaders are the first ones that ever tried to codify franchising, the franchisor model. And that's why I started my company. So, and every executive that in franchising that's my age, I'm 62. So anybody, say 50 plus, we all got into it by accident. We didn't know what it was. We didn't design a career in it. Yeah. But this next generation of leaders is the first generation of professional franchise leaders that knew what it was when they got into it. Right. Yeah. So franchising, it took us about 150 years, but we're finally professionalizing it.
Well, I gotta ask, how did you fall into it?
I was an art major in college, and I was a sucky art major, and I looked through a picture one day, looked at it and said, I'm never going to make money doing it. So I did the hurry up offense thing and figured out what business degree I could finish in 4 years because I'd have any more money. So I got a degree in marketing, and I read about this little sandwich shop in Connecticut, and it was starting to grow and had some vision of wanting to be bigger than McDonald's, which, and it was pretty funny that some local sandwich shop would want to be bigger than McDonald's. So I went down there with my little resume, knocked on the door. They interviewed me that day, and they asked me if I could start tomorrow, and it turned out to be Subway. So I got in Subway at about 300 restaurants I
Wow.
was there at their 400th opening, and then I was part of the team that took it to 3,000 units. So that's how I got
Wow.
to franchise. I had no entrepreneurship in my family, really. My dad, not exactly a change agent. He had the same job for 40 something years in the defense contracting industry, lived in the same house for almost 50,
Yeah.
so, and I just wasn't cut from that cloth. And then when I got into franchising, I'm going to define franchising. First of all,
Hmm.
we don't even have good definitions. So we have our own workable definition with FPG. It's recruiting, training, developing, and leading of team and entrepreneurs to build a local business. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
franchising national brands, it's all a string of local brands that turned into a national brand. But it's how do you leverage entrepreneurs as a strategic advantage in the local marketplace? That's what makes it work. And when I got into franchising, that's really kind of was exciting to me, is working with entrepreneurs and know what it takes to start a business, and seeing what people are willing to do and how far they're willing to go and how hard they're willing to work and how much risk they're willing to accumulate so their lives look a particular way and their careers look a
Yeah.
particular way. I said, these are not normal people. They're exceptional.
Yeah.
And I saw them almost like I painted them with a hero brush, so because I think it's heroic to start a business. So, and then when I started, my job was to, and continues to be, I'm doing the same work I started with at 21 years old. 21, when I started working the interest, people who are interested in opening Subway franchises would talk to me. I was one of the people they would talk to. And I realized very quickly, people really didn't want a Subway franchise. They wanted their lives and careers to look a particular way, and they were very frustrated. They were mostly people whose career ladders were against the wrong wall, and they had to take radical moves to achieve their goals, called starting a business. So I
Hmm.
was really in the business of answered prayer. They were tired, they were
Right.
frustrated. You know what happens when you tell your most intimate dreams to other people? They crap on them, right? So,
Sure. Sure.
so nobody believed in them. They didn't believe their dreams were a worthy pursuit. They should all be happy, working for, like my dad did, with a defense contractor, the school system, or whatever. And what I saw was, wow, I'm actually in the business of marketing people's dreams back to them as a reality if we did business together. And where am I going to get a better product than that? So I was about 3 months into my job saying, I think this is all I'm ever going to do. I just can't see myself doing anything else. And now you fast forward 40 something years. It's all I've ever
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
It continues to be very exciting and interesting and different and inspiring.
So it's safe to say that you enjoy watching somebody come into that platform and be successful, having something of their own.
Yeah, I find, there's jobs and I think there's callings, and I
Yeah.
feel like mine is a calling every bit as a minister has a call. Yes.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well, well, wait a minute. Before I get on, you did pique my interest when you said the first franchise was 150 years ago.
Yeah.
What was it?
Singer, sewing
Uh,
machines.
oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. That's good. I had no clue. No clue. And when speaking about franchises, you kind of hit on a lot of things. I think there's a lot of misconceptions. I think a lot of people think it's all about numbers and data, and it's probably a lot more than that based on what you're saying, right? Something they're looking for to better their lives for themselves, for their family. They want something that they own. They want to create their own destiny. And I think a franchise is a good way to do it because the playbook is there, right? You still have to do your part. But besides numbers, what about franchising do
Well,
most people
I'll
get
tell you,
wrong?
the playbook is usually not there.
Oh,
That's
really?
the illusion.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
That's the thing we're trying to clean up.
I see. So,
Yeah.
can you expand on that when you say the playbook's not there?
Oh, so 80% of franchisors don't even have 100 territories or units, right? So they're small chains.
Hmm.
So they're all either emerging growth or they're turnaround or they're resurging brands. And unless somebody is let's call 20, 30, 40 units, they're really experimenting with the franchisee's money,
Ah, okay.
right? Because they don't have enough data points to be proven. They might point to the industry and say it's a proven industry. And my answer is, so what?
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So, is this a proven playbook? And what does it mean to be proven is the other thing, right?
Yeah.
So every franchisor starts as the owner's personal system. And now is it
That makes sense.
adaptable to where anybody can learn it, or people that gravitate towards the business? And that's generally where they fall down is they're not adult education experts. Yeah. So
That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, they're entrepreneurs who cut over a man. It's like, it's a classical put the wrong person, promote the wrong people, Peter principle, right?
Yeah.
Well, this guy
Yeah.
is an adult, will be head trainer because he can run a store. Do they know adult education principles? Do they have great breakthroughs? Are they adult education experts? Can they design curriculum? Well, no, no, no. Then they're in the wrong position.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to franchises, there, like I saw a whole magazine, like in a newsstand, just franchise businesses.
Yeah.
There seems to be a ton. I couldn't even, I don't even know if you know the number, but how many franchises, opportunities are out there?
I'll tell you, there's two numbers I've heard. Private equity would tell you that there's 7,000 plus. The industry trade associations would say 4,000 plus, which publishes the magazine that you referenced. And there's
Yeah.
about 350 350 new concepts come out every year. But there's almost that many or more exit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's
They don't
what
make it.
it's about, is the franchisor failure rate is extremely high,
Wow.
but
What
nobody
would you say?
discusses that.
If you had to put a number on it or percentage, what's that look like? Failure rate?
When I started in '85, there were probably about 1,700 franchises. There's about, let's say there's 4,000 today. Well, if there's 250, 350 coming in every year for the last 40 years, and the numbers only doubled,
Yeah.
whatever that works out to. Yeah, it could be 50, 80, 90%.
It's a lot.
Is it right?
So
They still could be existing as chains and outlets, but as a franchisor, they cease to do business.
makes sense. So I definitely want to get into like, where you help people here in a second. But before we get too deep, I'm curious, what is something about you outside of business that maybe people don't know about?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm pretty much a big dumb animal. I play a lot of pickleball.
Yeah,
I,
pickleball.
from New Haven, so I'm a pizza snob.
Yeah.
So I'm a very big advocate for good pizza, and I like watching movies, and particularly bad movies that are so bad that they're funny, like Ed
Oh, I
Wood,
love
Plan
those.
9 from Outer Space, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I love those. In fact, I subscribe to a whole channel called Midnight Pulp, and it's the old drive-in theater stuff from like
Oh
the
yeah,
B
exactly.
screen
Like that and the Mystery Science Theater 3000 or whatever.
yeah, that
They
kind of
watch these
stuff.
bad movies and just make fun of them. And that's the whole show. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that too. But yeah, if you haven't checked out, I'm not affiliated with Midnight Pulp in any way, form, but watch it.
No,
It's
like
great.
that's funny. I'll have to check it out. Midnight Pulp.
Midnight Pulp. Yeah, you can stream
I
it.
never even
It's
heard of that.
yeah, it's great. It's got all the bead like grindhouse, I think is what they call
Yeah.
them. Yeah, all the good stuff. So okay, well, I appreciate it. And by the way, pizza in New Haven that's the thing, huh? I've not had
Yeah.
pizza from New Haven.
We always said it was the best pizza in the world, hands down by far. Nobody else is even close. We have our own pizza language. And Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, you know that guy?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Well, he's doing the one bite pizza reviews. He compares everything against New Haven now. So now they even have pizza tours of New Haven.
Is
Yeah.
that
So
right?
so we have a particular way of making pizza, and we're like a new pizza parlor in New Haven is like 60 years old.
Wow, I gotta get up there. I love a good pizza. I don't know how you compare it to Chicago pizza. Is it kind of the
Very
same,
different.
long, very different?
Uh, Coal fired or wood fired.
Okay.
Most people, Philistines, would say what we put out is burnt. Like we don't know. We would say charred. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how we make the dough and the tomatoes we use and the sauce, there's cheese ratio is, it's like we wouldn't, we would never, ever. You wouldn't get out of my neighborhood. I grew up in a mob neighborhood. You wouldn't get out of my
Mm.
neighborhood alive if you were pineapple on a pizza.
Is that right? That's a thing
Yeah,
there.
there's things you don't do. That's one of them. Yeah.
I love it. So, well, let's dive in. Joe, I want to talk about your services. Like, why? Like, what's your perfect client that you're looking for? That's looking for you, and how do you get them started?
So our perfect client is it's generic, but pretty simple, right? So, they have to be a worthy brand. Like,
Mhm,
so we always start with a, entrepreneur first, mentality. Like an entrepreneur should be able to succeed, have meaningful work, have good return on their investment in time, money, and energy, right? And
mhm,
then, and they should be affiliated with a brand that has a real defensible position in the marketplace. So it's not just a copycat concept. Yeah,
mhm,
that the consumer, they deliver real value to the consumer, lasting value. They're not a fad. So I'm very big on long-term sustainability, leading to multi-generational wealth. Yeah, so
mhm,
that's a real, I think, key driver when I am looking for a brand. And then one that values and understands the risks and capital of the entrepreneur. And you'd
mhm,
be surprised how philosophically that's missing in a lot of brands. They see almost like the franchisee as a necessary evil. I see them as
mhm.
this key strategic partner in the whole shebang, right? That they deserve a seat at the table. And they should be celebrated. And I would say every brand exists, every franchise brand exists to support the franchisee and make the franchisee successful. A lot of brands operate as if it's the opposite, that the franchisee exists to pay royalties and look at it like it's almost a
Yeah,
sharecropper model. My
yeah,
brand, my customer, my systems, pay your royalties and shut up
yeah,
and don't mess up my system. We kind of have a little bit of that mentality, I think, going on the brand level. And quite frankly, I think it's gross. So we're
yeah.
really big into values and philosophy of franchising on top of return on investment.
Hmm. That that's interesting. Now, just kind of off my head, I was thinking when you were mentioning this, and you mentioned Subway. I remember back in the day when I would have to say this is probably in like late '90s, when Subway was the number one franchise in the U.S.
Mhm.
Has that shifted? What is probably one of the number one franchises right now?
I even hesitate to answer the question the way you asked it. So it's number one based on what, right? So
Yeah,
it's
probably
based on,
revenue. I don't know. What do they base it on?
it should be what's the best franchise for you. And
Ah,
and that and that that's a loaded question. A lot of people ask me the wrong question. It's like if I go to a cocktail party, not that I go to a lot of cocktail parties, but it's
yeah,
assume I did. Yeah, somebody asked me, what's hot and what's new? And
yeah.
that for me, it's like asking what's a fad, what's going to burn out quick, what's got no long term sustainability and no track record of the marketplace. So I
Mhm,
hate those questions.
mhm.
Or what's the best franchise for me? It's like asking somebody what's the best career for me. I have a
Yeah,
brother. He does real well, and he's an actuary. I know I'm in hell when I'm in a spreadsheet. I'm on my chained to a desk, and I'm looking at spreadsheets and I'm crunching risk.
yeah,
Like it's just so not me. It doesn't, that's not no disrespect to the actuarial field. It's just a bad fit. So I
yeah,
think franchising and entrepreneurship is a lot about fit, right? So, and what makes a fit for one doesn't, it could be a terrible decision for the next person. So
that makes
I
sense.
think it's custom.
Makes sense. You mentioned that, but when I used to be a stockbroker for Morgan Stanley Dean Witter,
Yeah,
and people would come in and, hey, you'd be at a cocktail party to your point, and they say, what do you like? What's the stock? I'm like, what do I like? I like scotch and I like cheeseburgers. I mean, what do
right.
you mean? What do I like? So yeah, what's your investment strategy? And speaking of investing, where do most franchisors uh, typically over optimize, and where do they underinvest?
Are you talking about the brand?
Yes.
Yeah. So where do they invest? A lot of them are, I would say 80% are more emerging growth type companies.
Mm,
So I would say they underinvest and their capital constrained.
mm.
So a lot of them are still founder led, yeah, and bootstrapping it like, typical entrepreneurs do. And
Right.
then they don't want to go to the market for capital and give up control and, that whole situation. Right. So, if they're smart, they're making heavy investments in operations, right? Because that's the business that they're in.
Hmm.
If they make good money for the franchisee, they will be found in the marketplace because people are looking for them already, right? It's just what's a good investment, and as long as they make money for the franchisees, they will have a breakthrough, and people will search them out, and the chain will grow. I find that the natural progression of any chain is towards growth until you mess with it. Messing
Hmm.
with it could be you bring in the wrong franchisees, you try to grow too fast, right? You just mess with the biorhythms of a business. But if you make the necessary investments in operations, do your marketing strategies work? Are they driving people in? Are you capturing a disproportionate share of the marketplace? Are you delivering the customer experience that you're promising? Do the customers see the value in what you're providing and say, the value exceeds price? Yeah, real and
Hmm.
perceived value, right? As long as it's just blocking and tackling. And if you're doing the blocking and tackling right, then the change succeeds. It's, in technology, the tech stack, which is, I know the business you're in, that's
Hmm.
becoming increasingly more important. You know, one of
Yeah.
the cool things about the business you're in on the tech stack, one thing is about being an entrepreneur. It's trying to make good strategic decisions in the face of little and sometimes no information, or at least flawed data, right?
Yeah.
With AI, it's giving us better data and much better analysis of the data, and then in real time, right?
Yeah.
So, their expectation is smaller merging chains, may have a leveling, AI might be a leveling playing field with
Mm.
some of the larger data rich organizations, which typically you need to be a huge brand with deep pockets to get to that level.
What do you, or how are you using AI in your business today?
Well, I have a sales and marketing and consulting business,
Hmm.
right? And we do, a lot of it's content, right? So when we're helping the brand on the investment side tell their brand story as an investment. So how we would use AI, so certainly to generate content. Now,
Hmm.
we don't use AI to write content because it looks like the machine wrote it, but
Hmm.
we use AI. We'll create an outline. We'll let AI write it, then we do heavy aggressive edits. Then we run it through Grammarly, which I'll tell you, I've written 5 or 6 books. Best editor I never had, right? Run it
Yeah.
through Grammarly and it's flawless.
Yeah.
And it's self-learning, right? So the writer's voice is perfect. The everything we're looking for. It takes a blog article, for instance, it took it down from 3 to 4 hours to 30 to 45 minutes, as
Yeah.
long as we know what we want to say. I think the biggest breakthrough has been in video. It's our ability to create explainer videos. YouTube is the second largest search engine, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I did know.
So I'm dealing with when I'm helping franchisors find franchisees. Our brand franchise performance group, we're working with budgets of maybe 100 to $250,000 annually, right? Create an explainer video where you got to write it and shoot it and send the people out there to do B-roll and put the team together. You're talking about it could be $10,000 to create short videos or more.
For sure.
With in video, their AI solution. Again, I don't like AI generated. I like AI assist, where we're writing the script, we're creating the imagery,
Hmm.
and then we use AI for narration and production. And it's taken the time and expense down. I mean, it's 3 to 4 hours to get a really good explainer video. Now, one of the things that we're using AI for video is animating still imagery to create B-roll.
Hmm.
It is scary how
Yeah. It's
good
amazing how good it is.
it is. So good, and it makes such more impactful video.
Hmm.
And even the narration has gotten more lifelike. The inflection's good. They're choosing the backtrack for the music. They so the yeah it just creates a good. I'm going to call it a minimally acceptable product. So I lived for 12 years in Nashville. So if you're saying what's the right product, well, go to LA or go to Nashville and get the guys to do the music videos, and they'll do a great job. But I could do 80% of what they do on
Yeah,
a $75 a month subscription,
that's
right?
for
So
sure.
it's like, so I'll call, I'm a big, I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm a big minimal acceptable performance guy or product guy, right? We like our
Hmm.
map, minimal acceptable product, and I think AI is really allowing us to do a lot more, which is in the direction of Google, right? Google's looking for the latest, most relevant content.
Hmm.
Same thing with YouTube. So it's allowing us to pivot a lot quicker, telling brand stories than we ever could in the past.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's changing so quickly. It's almost hard to keep up with it. There's always a new video engine that's came out that's even better than the last one. I just saw a new one today, and it's evolving so quickly.
it
The
is evolved.
latest thing, have you heard of the cloning yourself now?
I became aware of it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I haven't done it.
Yeah.
Well, when you
There,
look like this, so you're really motivated, to
yeah.
clone yourself, it would be, so there's that,
Yeah.
but the technology is really astounding, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you've got the cheaper versions where you can kind of clone yourself. And I did it actually myself just to play around with it, put myself in a video, and it was okay. But there's a company in the UK that will fly you out, and they put these cameras, they circle you, they listen to your voice, have you read scripts, and literally you can create, like, looking at me right now, you that could be a total clone, right? And it knows everything. It works 24/7, and it's almost like, have you ever seen the movie Multiplicity with,
Yes, like
you remember you
pretty
remember how
much.
he
Yeah.
yeah, he cloned himself, and then the clone cloned itself, and it's got getting worse and
Is
worse
that
as it keep
Michael
cloning.
Keaton?
Michael Keaton,
Great
yeah.
in, right?
Yeah, it was such a great
Wow.
movie. And then by the time it got to the last guy, a last copy of a copy of a copy, it was like really, really off from the original. But you can do it, and people are doing it, and I think it's probably I could see that becoming a thing where everybody has their clone, and their clone works alongside them 24/7. It takes a lot off the plate. It's
So,
crazy.
so what would they be using cloning for? Menial tasks, emails, like what? Phone
Yeah.
calls?
So phone calls, conversations, writing emails in your voice and the way you talk, producing content, just all of it. It's almost like having a double you, but working 24/7, not taking any time off.
That's really,
And
really something.
it is, and I know it's probably going to get even more so. It's going to keep growing, but it's already started, and people are paying. I think it's like $3,500 or something you pay, and they'll clone you, and you'll have a digital version of yourself.
Yeah, our marketing platform internally, FPG, we've always published our intellectual property so people can interact with it. We
Hmm.
might work with maybe anywhere from 10 to 20, 25 brands at any point in time, but there's 4,000 now.
Hmm.
So we try to raise the condition of franchise practice doing what we're doing. So we regularly publish our trade secrets. But yeah, that having a clone would be fantastic. It makes so much easier to put out training content.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested to see where that's going to go in the future. But you were talking about evaluation. I just want to dive into that because you had said, I believe in one of your posts, it was, I think it's like franchise sales process is a mutual evaluation. So the franchise
Yeah.
is also looking at the person looking to purchase, right? And what types of things are they looking for, and where do most people get caught up? And
All right.
maybe
You want me to answer from the brand side or the entrepreneur
I
side?
would from the brand side.
Yeah. From the brand side, it's a continuum. So let me give you one poll. One
Okay.
poll, they're looking if they got the money and the pulse.
Mm.
Okay. And I hate to say that exists in franchise the same way pump and dump boiler room operations exist in stock
Hmm.
market, right?
Hmm.
So it's prevalent. The other side of the brand, they would look at it as like the brand is a sacred trust, right? And that the relationship between the franchisor and the franchisee The franchise agreement doesn't describe it any more than a marriage certificate describes what a marriage is supposed to look like, right?
It's a good
Yeah.
analogy.
So the sacred trust, the social contract would be another way of saying it, would exist that if you invest in this brand, Mr. Entrepreneur, we will do what it takes beyond anything that's written in the franchise agreement to help you be competent in this brand and make a good return on investment for yourself and your family.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, you go beyond, right? And the franchisees end of that sacred trust or social contract would be, I'm going to learn what it takes to succeed in this brand. I will dedicate myself to mastering those skills. And I'm also Mr. CEO or founder or ownership of the brand. I'm going to understand what you guys stand for. Okay. And what you want the customer to experience. And I'm going to dedicate myself on the local level to make sure that that's delivered. And if you have that, now there's no
Mhm.
hierarchy in that relationship, right?
Mhm.
There's just
True.
a mutual assurance, okay, or mutual destruction, right? But if there's mutual insurance or mutual benefit, I think that's how it works best. Take the hierarchy out of it. Okay, respect each other, understand
Mhm.
each other's roles in the total brand strategy, and dedicate yourselves to deliver it. And when that happens, it's really exciting. Brands develop in a way because the brand becomes community property at that point, not the ownership of the franchisor, right?
Right. Right.
So when you develop a brand that way, the brand develops in ways that the franchisor could never predict.
Hmm.
You know, I'll use like Harley Davidson, right? The guys who started Harley 100 years ago, they were making motorcycles. Who thought they would invent the lifestyle category?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
that's what happens in franchising.
Yeah,
It's just,
very
just
true.
the brand starts developing in organic ways that it's really exciting and unique.
Yeah. You think of like Jeep, same way, they have their whole thing, whole
Right.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ducks, and it's shifted over time. Speaking of the the outlook of the future, what do you think or what are you seeing right now, that might be the shift in franchise expectations, like franchisee expectations?
I think the big shift, I think there's a lot of shifts, but the big one going on is private equity has been pouring into franchising over the last 10 years.
Mhm.
And they're learning franchising very quickly because they're very smart. They're very, very
Yes.
smart. Like when they came in originally, it was like they think they're buying a consumer brand and they find the limiting factor is the model of franchising. We were recruiting, training, developing, and leading entrepreneurs, which they did no research on, right?
Mhm.
So they're like, what the heck did I just buy? They didn't understand it. Second generation was, well, we're going to bring in founders and CEOs or past executives and put them on the fund committee, right? Make them operating
Mm.
partners or whatever. And then they realized they got good opinions, but it wasn't what the fund needed. What the fund needed was intellectual property,
Mhm.
right? What's it take to see it as a franchisor? Don't give me your opinion. Give me a process or a system, right? So the third wave of franchising is they're buying even things like franchisor service organizations like ours. We've been
Mm.
private equity owned at times, so they can roll in the intellectual property to benefit their whole portfolio, right?
Mhm.
So it's the professionalization of the franchisor model, which again I'm going to describe as recruiting. So professionalizing who to recruit and who to say no to, training. So they're becoming adult education experts for entrepreneurs who don't learn. Like if they learned like in the university setting, in a classroom setting, they'd all have jobs, right? A lot of these
Mm.
are haptic or tactile type learning, right? And then also leading. You know what it's like to try to lead an entrepreneur? I mean, herding cats, right? Because they don't work
Yeah,
for you.
yeah,
And you can't
good
fire
point.
them once they're on. You just gotta,
Yeah.
you can't sue them out of existence. People think you can, you really can't. So it's leading leaders, which makes it exciting, and then it's resourcing them and seeing what they can build on the local level. So that's being
Mm.
professionalized, and franchisees, I think, are being weaponized on levels. So you're seeing a lot of um, private equity money coming in earlier than it used to,
Mm.
and then filling in the deficits of an emerging growth brand with things that are needed based on what the applied learning was from the larger brands or other brands in their portfolio. So
Mm.
that's really exciting to seeing, I would say franchisor specific fund theses in larger franchise companies and watching them going downstream where you really need the expertise and the money rather than focusing on brands that have already been built.
Yeah, that makes sense. Huh, that's good insight. When it comes to your business, I'm curious with your years of experience, where did you get it right? Like what would you not have changed that you think you've got it right? And what maybe would you have changed or done differently?
Well, I'm just talking about my business. So
Yes.
my business, like when I started my business, I guess that's 23 years ago. My goal was to do somewhere between 250,000 and $350,000 in revenue because I figured that's me maxed out for individual productivity model.
Yeah.
I was good at it, and people wanted to
Yeah.
work with me. Next thing you know, I built this firm. Okay, and I became a professional manager. And so it's like
Mm.
I found what I did wrong was not knowing my own limitations as an entrepreneur. Took a while.
Hmm.
So I can't tell you how many times I broke my own company trying to grow it.
Yeah.
I mean, just broke it.
Yeah.
So I learned that my sweet spot was probably 1.5 to 2 million in sales
Hmm.
and staying in that band. And I would tell you, I'm a very good marketer. I'm very creative. I can really understand the heart, soul of a brand, and I could deliver brand stories. I think our firm produces the best work in the space. I will tell you, as a professional manager, that's my shortcoming. Yeah,
Mm.
building teams, leading people to provide the work has always been my personal shortcoming. I've never been able to find the right number two. Right.
Yeah.
So I recently brought in a CEO and I moved into the number two role to
Hmm.
support him.
Mm.
And that's been life altering for me and life altering for him. Yeah, so we probably added another 400,000 in revenue because there's pent up demand for what we do. Our limiting factor isn't where do we find clients. Our limiting factor has been me, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and how do we service what we already have? And I mean, philosophically, I want to service what we have before I take on what's next.
Yeah.
Because I could always generate what was next, and to be able to do both, and then using AI to put out better quality content and quicker content and being more nimble has been a real breakthrough in our business.
Very good. And do you have the one location or do you guys other
We've been
places?
virtual always.
Okay. So
So
you're
yeah, I had a locate. I had our digital team one time in Nashville, and had an office in Nashville. But half the team has always been remote. And in my career, you go back since 1985. I think I've got 7 years out of 40 something in an
Mhm.
office. It's just
Yeah.
always been a remote field. So what happened during COVID has never been. That's not new for us.
Yeah. So you
So
guys you guys
today
didn't
we're
have to jump through
100%
hoops.
remote.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think man, today everybody wants to work remote. It's nobody wants to be in the office anymore. It doesn't seem like. But let me ask a kind of a fun question. I'm curious what you'll say to this, but if if um, if franchising had a reality TV show, what would it be called, and who wouldn't survive the first episode?
It's an interesting question. Give me the premise of the show, first of all. So that, because I
Well,
a number of different ways.
yeah, the premise is kind of up to you. Let's just say overall, as franchising goes, your experience, your businesses, if they could put that into a reality show.
So,
Maybe
so
they
let
had
me,
a reality show about franchising.
so let's assume you got this skilled entrepreneur
Yeah.
and who's built businesses, and they got $1 million to invest. And they have some maybe organization they could cross over into,
Yeah.
and they franchisor, right, was
Yeah.
trying to generate that person as a franchisee. And that was the premise. Like, who's going to
Yeah.
survive? Okay, that internal investigation.
Or maybe you started a reality show about what you do and, you have all these components. What would you call it?
Oh, I do think.
Not Pistol Whip, I don't think.
No, I do think there's quite a few people in our field that would benefit by being. Yeah, I would probably call it the next big brand,
Next big brand.
and probably get these smaller emerging growth brands together and see if they have what it takes
Yeah.
to be the next big brand. If I identify what's in place, what's missing, and then like maybe Marcus Lemonis used to do, just roll those missing pieces in place to
Yeah.
create a tipping point.
Hey, I think it's a great idea for a reality show. So if anybody's watching this, reach out to Joe. He's ready.
Yeah, funny story on reality TV. I actually got to the final two on a sales reality TV show called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And the
What?
premise was to take a sales professional, drop them in any company, and take on a head-to-head with their top sales guy.
Really?
So I got down and we were doing the screen interviews. I was ready to fly out to LA for my screen. The guy calls me up and he said, "We lost our funding. This show's canceled." Well, you told me you had the network. You told me you had the funding. He goes, "Welcome to Hollywood." He goes,
Wow.
yeah. I was like, "Are you serious? Like the lug can get pulled out on the 2-inch line?" He goes, "Yeah, that's the business we're in." I said, "Oh, crap. How do you guys even survive or sleep at night?"
Wow.
Yeah. So I have gone down the reality TV route.
Yeah, that's great. Well, listen, we're coming to the end. I wanted to make sure. Well, let me ask one last question. And then
Yeah.
I want you to be able to shout out how somebody can get a hold of you and your team if they're interested in using your services. But final question. What's one piece of advice you'd give franchisors who want to build something that lasts, not just something that sells?
To build something last, it's kind of it's a simple formula, right? And a lot of them don't follow it. Have a product or service that's unique. Have a product or service that's valuable to the customer. So I'm big in real and perceived value, right? So what value delivering to the marketplace, and price it under that, right? Have something that's defensible. This is where a lot of franchisors break down. Would be, it's kind of a better, faster, cheaper model, which lends itself to copycats. Do not be a copycat. Have something you can defend in the marketplace. So once a franchisee is in and they're established, and make it hard for stupid money to come in and take what they've built, and then have something that's sustainable for the long haul. Right. Yeah. So something that can build multi-generational wealth. Those are really, I think, the criteria that franchisees need to evaluate their own business through, and then put those missing pieces in place.
It's good advice. You heard it yourself right here from Joe Mathews. Joe, if you want to take us out, let us know how people can get a hold of you.
Easiest way to be hit our website. It's franchiseperformancegroup.com. And our list of services, contact forms there, were very easy to get a hold of.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Joe. And I appreciate you as a guest. I learned a lot today. I hope everybody else did too. And we will talk to you soon. Thank you, sir. And best of luck to you.
Great questions. Thanks for having me.
You bet.